Yeah, thanks. Sorry about that.
You're good.
Thanks, Laura, for the time. I wanted to ask a little bit about this match here. It could be viewed as a trap game because of the you guys haven't won against them, but and also Bay is not playing very well right now. What has been maybe your approach then as far as prepping the team for this match?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really change our process no matter who we're playing. It's been a quick turnaround. We didn't fly back from New York until Monday, so we haven't had a ton of time together. We flew Monday and we were recovering on Tuesday, so we've only really had yesterday and today. So yeah, the message is that we obviously went out to Bay and did something that we hadn't done last year, which was get any form of point off them. And I think both teams are different now than they were back whenever we played them a long time ago. Um, but what we want to do is, our home form's been good, so continue in that vein. We obviously showed a very good defensive performance against Gotham. Continuing that, and try and be a little bit more creative and have a little bit more quality in the final third, to create more opportunities. I think it's just the process that we go through, no matter who we're playing and no matter what we're doing. What things did we do great in the last game? What things can we get better at? What things do we need to continue to get better at? And how can we go and execute that in the next game? So that tends to be our process every single week, and that hasn't really changed for this week.
And so kind of with that, I mean, yeah, that what that match was in April. Uh, so you can't even really go back. I mean, because both teams, like you're saying, have changed. So I mean, is there even really anything that you can go back or saw on film that may help within keeping your process this time?
Well, they play very similar that they did then. Their structure's the same, their formation's the same. Maybe their personnel has evolved a little bit. Um, but I always think teams that don't have anything to play for are the real can be teams that are the hardest to play against, because they're playing for one thing and one thing only, and that's pride, and that can overpower anything. So, I'm very aware of that. I've made the players very aware of that, that we're fighting for something bigger than that. And that weight can be huge, but strip that weight off and just go back to process and what we try and do every week. And that's what will enable us to be able to go and execute. So that's our message that it's been all week.
Thanks, Jada. Stephen?
Hi, Laura. I want to ask, the team announced yesterday Maddie Mercado has been called back from Carolina.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could reflect a little on how you, obviously she had a lot of success in her short time there. Kind of reflect on how you felt that loan went and what you felt was the impetus to call her back at this point, if it's fitness or performance from her aspects or what.
Yeah, I mean, her performances out there were fantastic. So that was an easy thing to say of why we wanted to do it. And I think obviously, not getting Lynn back for as long as we haven't, and still not really having any timeline on that. I think we need Maddie going into the last stretch here, to try and push us over the line, and hopefully if we get over the line, to help us in playoffs. So that was the biggest reason for doing it.
And kind of relatedly, last week it got them real solid defensive performance, but not a lot going forward. What are some of the things you feel like the team needs to work on in the game tomorrow to get a little bit more offensive production going?
I do, yeah, just quality in the moments. When we get in positions to hurt opponents, showing a little bit more quality and a little bit more dynamic movement and stuff like that, I think will help us. But yeah, this league's tough. Sometimes you have to dig it in and defend for your lives, and we did a good job of that last week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Jada?
Great, thanks. I believe it was Sally that went off last week. How is health with the team? Is she going to be able to return?
It's touch and go. Like I said, we haven't had a ton of time to get her back to being okay. So it'll be a last minute decision on Sally.
And then with Lynn, you sound like you're still hopeful, or is she gonna be able to play this season? Is there gonna be,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't
So
know.
there's no need to make an announcement about like she's being shut down or anything
No,
like that.
no.
And then, if I may, I don't see another hand. So if I may, can you kind of talk a little bit about the difference or the feeling this season versus last season? You know, you were one of those teams that was, you know, kind of playing for pride at this point. So, you know, how happy are you, I guess, feeling that it's a totally different feel? Now you can maybe, you know, get home court or home field advantage.
Yeah, I mean, someone said it to me earlier today on one of the other calls I was on, where we've had a sneaky good season, you know, and I'm fine with it being sneaky good, because sometimes sneaky good sneaks through to the end, you know, and how cool could that be, you know, that we could really turn this thing around, and that's how I felt, you know. I think, yeah, obviously I was at the club in 2013, 2014 when it was just like a dramatic turnaround. And I don't think this year's been dramatic. I think it's been a little bit more steady and building for something bigger. And if we can overachieve this year, great. And probably overachieve is home playoff and beyond, you know. And yeah, it's exciting that those things are in our hands. That's what you play the game for, you know. So, yeah, I'm really proud of the group. I think it's evolved a lot throughout the season. And just as a collective, staff players, I think we've all evolved collectively together. And I'm excited to see how we can see this thing out.
And you've always relied on a lot of different players, you know, you're notorious for changing lineups, things like that. But when you started the season with, you know, having the prospect of having Lynn and, you know, needing goal scoring, are you, how does it feel, I guess, at this point to not have that player make as much of a contribution in games that you wanted, but, you know, you're still getting through, you're still getting these results. And like you said, you're still being, you know, sneaking in there as far as a threat.
Well, I think the players have stepped up. You know, I think one thing that bringing in someone like Lynn brings, and Mia a little bit, is competition. And with competition brings people who step up to that competition and who struggle with that competition. And I think the majority of the players that have been competing have stepped up. And that's what we need. You know, I think Maddie Darlene's been fantastic on goal scoring. Emery Adames has been great on goal scoring. You know, Jordan has held her own this second half of the season. I think we still want to give her more opportunities. Obviously, Mia's been carrying a little injury since Kansas, but, you know, we were really excited when we finally could get her a start. Where we know we're not done, you know. I think if you look at the group, they're young, they're gaining experience as they go. That, yeah, you know, Lynn sits in this realm of, you know, what she can do, and we all know that. And she's done it for us this year, but maybe in more sample sizes than what we wanted. But what she's also done is she's empowered everybody around her. And I never really knew that about Lynn, prior to working with her. But just watching how she moves and how she operates and how she holds herself, she empowers everybody around her, which is such a powerful thing to have in your locker room, especially when they're not able to actually do that on the field. Can they add something else to your group? And she absolutely does that. And then also, I think someone like a Maddie Darlene has similar attributes to Lynn, pacey, fast, that they have to respect Maddie now. Teams have to respect her. And that brings with it its own set of things that you have to solve, right? Like if they're respecting Maddie Darlene, does it open up space for Jordan or Jess or Coco or Emery or Mia, whoever's up there? And that's what I love. I think we've kept everybody in it. Everybody feels like they've got a shot of giving themselves a chance to be successful. And they're all in it together. They're all pushing each other on, which is fantastic to see.
Thank you, Jada. That'll be our last one. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, guys.